Welcome back to another audio. My name's Jim. I wanted to go back to episode 1 when I started in grade 4. There was a few things that I missed in grade 4. I was probably either 9 or 10. I can't remember if it was the first year of grade 4 or the second year of grade 4. I do believe this all happened in the first year of grade 4. But I think before I think it was the summer of grade 3 going into grade 4. My best friend Pam, she moved away and switched schools. So I don't even remember saying goodbye. I don't even remember them moving. I just remember they moved and I never heard from her again. Now, she was my childhood best friend, bestie. We did everything together. We went swimming together. We went ice skating together. I think we even had sleepovers. We did everything together. We went to school together. We came home together. We played after school every single day. So I guess I took that, pretty hard, losing a best friend. Considering there wasn't a whole lot of kids around my area. There was one other girl, but her parents had split up, so she would only be at her dad's place, and her dad's place was up where I lived, but she would only be there sometimes during the week, but mostly every other weekend, so we didn't hang out as much. There was times that we did hang out, so the only time I ever had friends and played with friends was when I was in school. I remember another kid named Joey. Me and him were, I guess you could say, worse than what me and Paul were together. Me and Paul, we were troublemakers. But me and Joey turned out to be little devils. I remember... I don't remember him much at school, but I do remember hanging out with him a few times, either during the summer or... I can't see after school, because usually after school I would just go home, and by the time I got home it was already 4 o'clock, and then dinner at 5 kind of thing, and then bedtime shortly after that. So I can't remember the times that I hung out with Joey, but I remember a few incidents that got us into trouble with the police. But before that, I also remember not him, but his mom, selling me a pet rabbit. And I didn't have money at the time. And I remember I stole $20 out of my mom's wallet. I went to his house after school that day, paid for this rabbit. I called my mom to come pick me up. She came down, picked me up, and she's like, "What are you bringing home?" And I said, "Oh, it's a pet rabbit. They're giving it away for free because they didn't want it anymore." I couldn't tell her that I bought it, because she knows that I didn't have any money. So I can't remember how I got busted for that, but she found out that I stole the money from her. And I remember making up this story about how I found it at the bus stop in the drain pipe that, the water from the road drains into, like the ditch. I told her I found it in one of those or something like that. And I think they ended up selling the rabbit on me, and I didn't have my pet rabbit. That was an incident with Joey. Not really with him, but I guess that was kind of all my doing. And another incident, I think I went over to Joey's house for a sleepover, because he lived downtown, close to the school that we went to. And I think we decided to go out gallivanting. We went to a grocery store called Safeway. I remember we went through there, we stole a pack of gum and some candy or something like that. And then just in the same parking lot, there was a liquor store. And back then, I guess, people didn't care if kids went into a liquor store, because we just walked right in there and we went up to the counter, and I remember looking at Joey, and there was a tip jar on the counter. And this is when they had like the paper money for $2. There was a bunch of $2 in there. There was a bunch of change in there. And I came up with this brilliant idea of, do you have any of those hats in the back? And I remember it was a lady cashier, and she's like, yeah, let me go check. So as soon as she went to go to the back, I remember I grabbed the tip jar, I dumped it out into my pocket, put it back, and then we took off running. Walking down the sidewalk towards downtown, we come across this was a weekend, because I remember there was a storage place where you could store vehicles and campers and stuff, and the gates were closed, and it was middle of the day, probably morningish, afternoonish, and we climbed the fence and jumped the fence and went into this storage yard, and just went siphoning through a bunch of vehicles into some campers. And I remember Joey grabbing this machete and sticking it in his pant leg and walking like he was a penguin because he couldn't bend his knee. I ended up stealing a motorcycle helmet. For what, I have no idea. We stole a lot of things that day, and keep in mind, I was only either 9 or 10 years old. I think Joey was around the same age, because I think we were in the same grade. So he might have been a year younger than me, because, like I said, I can't remember if this all happened the first year of grade 4 or the second year. I'm pretty sure it was all the first year, because all the trouble that I got into in the first year of grade 4 basically led to the reason of the teachers holding me back, because they didn't think I was focused enough to go into grade 5 or something like that. So anyways, I just wanted to quickly go over some of the other stuff that happened to me within that year. So not only did I lose 2 best friends, I can't remember, but I remember going into grade 5, I think Joey moved away. And I remember I remember crying myself to sleep for like a week. But before, okay, see, I missed some more here. But before that happened, the incident where we went to Safeway and stole some candy and went to the liquor store and stole the tip jar, or the money out of the tip jar, I remember coming home from Joey's house that weekend or something. I remember I was downstairs with my brothers, and there was a big knock at the door, and then my mom and dad answered the door, and I remember standing by the basement stairs listening, and I could hear it was a police officer talking to my parents about me and another little boy that were caught stealing. And I remember my mom coming downstairs and asking me what the heck was I thinking. There's a policeman upstairs, do you want to come talk to him? And I was scared, so I started crying. I said, no, I'm sorry, blah 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 blah. That's all I kind of remember about that part. And then yes, the whole thing about Joey moving away. I mean, Joey was another really close friend of mine. He moved away. I remember clearly that I was crying myself to sleep like for a week at least. You know, so now I'm basically back to square one, where I had no friends, but only when I went to school. But even at school, I mean, the friends that I did have there, yeah, we did play on the playground and stuff like that, but they weren't like real friends. I remember I got bullied a lot. Now that, I was classified as a loner now. This is the second year in grade 4, so, you could just imagine how things went. The friends that I did have from the first year in grade 4 are now in grade 5, and they don't want to hang out with like grade 4s, and it was just stuff like that. So I'd get bullied from the people that were in grade 4, even though I was older than them. But I was just a skinny toothpick kid that didn't stand up for myself. I remember also, I just couldn't stand the fact of going and taking a poop at school. I'm already getting bullied. I have no friends. I didn't want to get made fun of. It was just like a thing that I just didn't want to do. And I remember one day that I had to go poop so bad that I held it in until I got home. But as soon as I started walking up the front steps to my porch to the front door, I remember I was screaming for my mom, and she come running out, and just as the door opened, I pooped myself. And then just started bawling and crying. I can't remember exactly what had happened, but I remember my mom talking to the teachers about, if the kids have to go. I think I made up a story that, the teacher wouldn't let me go to the bathroom or something like that. But anyways, it was a very embarrassing moment in my life, but not too many people knew about it, so I got through it. There was another incident. This is all in the second year of grade 4. Being bullied and whatnot. I remember this one kid that really pops out in my head. and I think his name was Liam, and I can't remember, but I remember it was like the last day of school because we got out early that day, and we were all standing up on the hillside waiting for the school buses to come. And I think he was like trying to take my jacket or something like that, because before he would always like take my snacks and some of my lunch and stuff like that, and eat it in front of me and laugh at me and whatever. But the jacket situation, it was last day of school, you know, and I was just fed up with the same kid picking on me, and I think he was trying to take my jacket, because I remember I think he got my jacket off, and then I threw down I had something in my hand, I think it was my bag. I threw it down, and then I started chasing him, and he dropped my jacket, so I picked it up, and I, used it like a lasso kind of thing, and I tripped him, and because I threw it, or I was hanging on to it, but I threw it at him, hanging on to it still, and I tripped him, and I remember just standing there and just kicking him and kicking him and kicking him. And did I get in trouble for that? I don't remember. But that's when I started standing up for myself, because I was just, fed up. And when I did that, like this, it felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, because now, I wasn't scared, which kind of was, like, thinking about it now is a scary thing, but I just didn't care. That explains a lot when I got into like grade 5 and grade 6, because some more stuff happens, and as the years go on, these stories get more and more and more interesting. So stick around if you want. This is classified as the boring stuff right now, but I want to get everything out and in details as much as possible, just so you kind of know where I've come from, went through, and the situations that I'm in now. And if you're going through a hard time, you're not the only one, you're not alone. And leave a comment down below, get some stuff off your chest. And anyways, this is just a continue on from episode 1. There was some stuff that I missed. I probably still missed some more stuff, and when I hear this back, I might I forgot about this. But anyways, hit that subscribe button, share this with somebody else that that's going through a rough time, or has been going through rough times, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.